I think we're ready to get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amy Woods. I'm the Executive Director of Alumni Relations and a graduate from the class of 1997. We're very excited to share this panel presentation with you today, featuring a number of alumni from the human resources industry. I'd like to thank the Marist Center for Career Services for their collaboration on this event, so we could integrate both students and alumni. So we hope both groups find the discussion informative. Joining us today from the Center for Career Services is Desmond Murray, Associate Director for the Employer Experience at Marist. Hi, Desmond.
How are you, Amy?
Very good, thank you.
Awesome, awesome.
Due to the number of participants, we have muted all lines except for the panelists. In order to ask the panelists questions, please use the chat feature. You can send your questions to the host, which is me. Also, if you're having poor audio right now, you can dial into the meeting via a phone, and I am going to post that information in the chat box in just a second. Also, there are no videos from the registrants either. So we've muted all lines and there's no video. So just the panelists will be on video. I know some people get a little nervous about that. Can they see me? I get that question all the time from our alumni. Also, there are several ways you can view this presentation on a desktop computer or a laptop. Use the layout icon on the top right of your video portion of your screen so you can choose how you'd like to view it. There will be slides for a portion of the presentation and the rest will be video. So now, Desmond, would you like to begin with the introduction of our panelists?
I'd be honored. So we're going to start off. We have Sarah Conklin Hartwell. She received an undergraduate degree in 01 and a master's degree in 05. She serves as the Director of Human Resources at Amscam, a division of Party City Holdings, Inc. In this role, Sarah is responsible for developing HR strategy for both manufacturing and distribution within this organization. Sarah supports talent management, employer relations, talent attraction, project management, and organizational development. Prior to this, Sarah worked at the Gap, Inc. as their senior HR business leader. She spent 15 years with the Gap and worked in several key HR roles at their Fishkill, New York distribution center location. She has been in leadership and HR roles for retail organizations, including Limited Brands, Aristotle, and Bed and Bath Beyond. I know a lot of people like that place. Sarah received a bachelor's degree in psychology and master's in public administration from Marist College, where she was a member of the Higher Education Opportunity Program, better known as HEOP. She holds a PHR certification and is an advisory board member for Marist College School of Professional Programs. So we're going to let Sarah say hello to you.
Hello, and thank you for having me on the panel today. Excited to chat with everyone. Thank you again.
Great. Our next individual, Verna Kaysen, 94, Marist grad, is a human resources business partner at Entergy Corporation. In this position, Verna partners with senior leadership to manage nuclear talent, workforce planning and development, career development, succession planning, and organizational health. Verna started her career with Entergy in May 2009, having worked in various capacities within the organization before taking on her current role. At Entergy, she is a member of the Multicultural Employee Resources Group, Women in Nuclear Organization, and HR's Internal Communications Group. Prior to Entergy, for 14 years, Verna held numerous positions in technology in numerous locations within IBM. Verna graduated through the Higher Education Opportunity Program, of course, HEOP, at Marist, receiving a Bachelor of Arts degree in communication with a concentration in public relations and a minor in fine arts. While as a student, Verna was a member of Residential Life, Campus Ministry, Marist Singers, Gospel Choir, and the African American Cultural Organization. Outside of her career, Verna supports the American Heart Association and the Center for Safety and Change for Domestic Violence and stays involved with her local church. And Verna's going to say hello to y'all right now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Looking forward to chatting with you all on this afternoon. Thank you, Desmond.
You got it. You got it. And now our next individual, Carmen Alou, 04. He's a senior human resources business partner with Sanofi, a pharmaceutical and global life sciences company. Concurrently, he serves as an adjunct professor of business at Penn State University. Carmen previously held positions as an HR director and associate HR director at IQVIA, a human data science company. Carmen began his career immediately after graduating from Marist College at IBM, where he served as a human resources intern in their research division and while he was still a student. He then climbed his way up through various HR positions that even included a 2-month India international assignment and ultimately served as U.S. recruitment manager. Carmen has a bachelor's in business administration with concentration in human resources and marketing from Marist College, as well as a master's degree in management from Fordham Gabelli School of Business. Carmen.
Thank you, Desmond. I'm going to bring you to every meeting I go to. You make me sound so much better than I would myself.
And I'm going to pick up with the last two panelists, but I don't sound like that. I'm not as good as you, Desmond. Sorry, Caitlin. So Caitlin Beloy Theranetta is a senior human resources program manager with Amazon Incorporated, the multinational technology company. I think we all know, especially right now, where we're all ordering online, what Amazon is. At Amazon, Kate also served as HR business partner, regional HR business partner, and senior HR business partner before accepting her current position. She previously held positions as human resources manager and central stores support manager for Macy's, and as executive team leader of human resources for the Edison, New Jersey branch of Target. Kate began her career in the field of human resources immediately after graduating from Marist with a bachelor's degree in business administration and management. In the years since, she has created innovative work procedures, collaborated across departments, and has extensive experience with recruitment, hiring, and training both employees and other HR staff. While at Marist, she worked as a resident assistant, was a member of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and was captain of the Division I softball team. Welcome, Caitlin.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Devon O'Nulty is the program manager for workplace inclusion at Avangrid. I forgot to ask you that one. Devon, is it Avangrid or Avangrid?
Avangrid.
An energy and utility company where he also served as a labor relations manager. He began his career in the human resources industry with the Connecticut Department of Labor, where he started with the American Job Center. He worked his way up to project manager in the Office of Workforce Competitiveness, where he managed a grant allocation of $1.1 million. He has also held HR positions with the Connecticut Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and Sikorsky. He has also served as a lead head diving coach at Wesleyan University in Connecticut and is currently the head diving coach at Fairfield University, and wisely chose to wear his Marist shirt today instead of his Fairfield shirt. After receiving a bachelor's in communication from Marist, Devon went on to receive a master's in management and organizational leadership from Albertus Magnus College and a master's in human resources management and services from the University of Connecticut. Welcome, Devon.
Thanks, Amy. And of course, go Red Foxes, Red Foxes for life.
The nice thing, Fairfield and Marist are the same colors, so you can kind of integrate a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to pull up some slides, and Sarah is going to begin the presentation today talking about breaking into the human resources industry.
Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate the warm welcome and introduction for all the panel members today. Rightfully so, the topic that I will be talking about today is breaking into human resources. And given my experience and background, that's certainly what I did. So I thought today I can share some tips and tricks of the trade. So let's get started. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about journey into HR. So for me personally, as mentioned by Desmond in that wonderful introduction that he provided, I did start my career with some education, a bachelor's and a master's degree. And while I was working on my master's, I worked in retail management. From there, I springboarded into a career in human resources. So today, I'm going to talk about your journey into human resources. How do you jumpstart and break into that career? So a few tips. Let's talk about education. So a degree in human resources or related field is definitely helpful and sometimes required depending on the position that you're looking for. So typically a degree is the price of admission if you're looking or interested in working in human resources. However, if one doesn't have a degree or related experience, it's okay to take some HR courses or certification and really feel out if human resources is the right area. Having human resources experience or a degree is really important. Or taking courses to really emphasize or strengthen HR knowledge is important. Even if you're an experienced HR professional or you have that degree, taking additional courses to keep your knowledge relevant is important. So our next tip, network, network, network. And I don't want to steal Verna's thunder because she is going to chat with us all about networking. But I thought it was crucial to talk about that here. So it really is who you know. Consider networking with other HR professionals, business leaders. Take note of the panelists on today's call. Is there anybody that you'd like to connect with or network through LinkedIn or other avenues? And Verna's going to talk a little bit more about networking. But think about how you can connect with HR professionals. Who are some business leaders that you know, perhaps through others, that can help open doors to you for an HR career or career pathing? Next, professional organizations. Consider joining SHRM or other organizations where you can chat and network with other professionals about their experiences. If you're attending meetings or sessions with others, think about what questions you may have for them as you are a member joining meetings or professional organizations. What do you want to get out of the session or your professional experience or exposure to them? Next, starting point. Realistically, everybody needs to start somewhere. Amy, can we just head back a little? Excellent, thank you. So starting point. Think about working in an internship in human resources or even potentially starting at an entry-level role. One of the things I noticed as Amy and Desmond were going through their introduction, you got a sense of where we all started. Everybody starts someplace. Some of us had human resources internships during our undergrad. Some of us started working in entry level of various roles in human resources. So be strategic and look for a solid company with a track record of internal promotions or intern. Think about an organization that might have an entry-level role in which you're qualified for. If you take on that entry-level role or that HR internship, express a desire to leaders in human resources about working in their department. Find an internal promotional opportunity that might help you advance forward in the career. For some, such as myself and perhaps others, retail leadership has led to an HR career due to the vast skills gained in such a profession. Oftentimes what you might find is retail industry might have leadership programs or entry-level opportunities that one can start out with and work their way into such a profession. Going back to the entry-level role, any entry-level role or any leadership role is really a great start. A leadership role, quite frankly, at any level, is an excellent starting point for you to prove that you have the skills and desire for a career in HR. Next, consider if you want to work as a specialist or a generalist. Think about the area of the profession that you're most interested in. This can help you narrow down your job search. So think about, is it payroll? Is it recruiting? Something else? Consider all parts and areas of the human resources field. There is a lot to do. Think about also what interests you or draws you to the field of HR. Are you comfortable having challenging conversations? Depending on the area of HR, this could be a large part of the job, especially if you're working in human resources or in a generalist capacity. Think about if you're a strong influencer. Do you think that you'd make a great business partner? Do you understand the business you plan to support? Things to consider, specialist or generalist. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Verna. She's going to talk with us a little bit about networking. But before we begin, I think that there was one slide that if we could just back up, I think might be on there. If not, no, I don't see it. It's okay. I will add a couple more points. So a couple more tips. Resume. Ensure you have a resume that showcases your education, certifications, and experience. Your resume should truly demonstrate the credibility and value you bring to the position. Next, confidence. Confidence is key. Be confident and prepared when speaking and networking with professionals or in an interview. When interviewing, ensure you practice in advance and craft examples of how you've been an asset in your current or past role, and be sure to share what you've contributed to the business. And last, before I turn it over to my pal Verna, elevator speech. When you are networking or whether you're seeking out a job in any venue, think about what your elevator speech is. I once worked for somebody, and in my first few minutes working for this leader, he said to me, when you're visiting our corporate office, what is your elevator speech? Think about when speaking with professionals, what are a few things that they need to know about you? What is critical? And can you provide them your quick speech about you and what you're passionate about in 3 minutes? Be sure that that professional walks away with a lasting positive impression. Now I'm going to turn it over to Verna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Definitely a lot of great information on your journey into HR. So we're going to get into some networking tips. And I know we all like to hear about networking. So networking, what does that mean? And we can go to the next slide, Amy. So what is networking? I mean, when we think about networking, it's the exchange of information and ideas among people with a common profession or special interest. Usually in an informal social setting. So I know we always network with people. I mean, we can be in the store, we might run into somebody, we may be at work, we're networking, or maybe at an event, we start to network with people by just engaging in conversations. So networking often begins with a single point of common ground with any individual or any person that we come in contact with. Next slide. So networking. So here I've actually have some reference links that pretty much will give you some information, and we're not going to actually click on that today, but this will, this actual link here will give you tips on how to advance your career. It will give you your job search strategies. You'll find some information on this with this link with the job search strategies. Also, when you actually build sincere relationships with people and you're talking to one another, that's the way you start to network and have conversations with one another. So, try using different ways to connect with people. I mean, and I'll get more into that in my slides as we move forward.
And Verna, we can do, we decided we're going to share this presentation with the attendees afterward, correct? So I can mail this out to everyone who's attending, but I can also, once I get out of this and stop sharing my screen, I can copy and paste these into the chat box as well, if that helps folks out, so they can copy and paste them themselves, okay?
Yes, and I mean, I didn't want to, I mean, I know we're not showing video today in terms of where we can actually click on those links, but just because it would actually take a lot more time. So the hidden job market. So, some reference to jobs that are not posted as the hidden job market. These are opportunities that are not widely advertised on a company's website in a social media social media setting. So that's what we kind of refer to as the hidden job market. Next slide. So who can I connect with? So when you're networking, I tell people, employee referrals, those are great ways to network. You have recruiters. I mean, I used to be a recruiter for some time and I did that. And one of my biggest things was when I went out to different colleges and universities and I would talk to the students, I would say networking is important. Make your connections, send your resume, follow up, connect with agencies that hire. Word of mouth, talking to a friend, talking to a colleague or a family member. A family member may be working for a company that you actually want to go work for. And, that's how you can make those network connections. Internal hires. We all work with people who have connections with people outside of your main company that you're working for now that you may want to actually connect with. And one big place, of course, is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is huge. They have so many different ways that you can connect with different employers, and you want to kind of build a LinkedIn profile out there and just build it so that you have different groups and you can narrow it down and gear it towards the type of job that you're looking for. So I definitely say LinkedIn is definitely important for someone that's trying to look for employment. And of course, hiring managers. Each and every day I talk to my hiring manager about different opportunities and some of you may know with Entergy closing down here in the Northeast, I was looking for another opportunity and I've actually gotten that opportunity, but it's all about the networking, and networking is very important to do as you move through life and you move through your career. And definitely if you want to advance up the ladder in your career, the biggest thing to do is to network. Next slide. So how to navigate, and I kind of talked a little bit about that, how to navigate the hidden job market. You have to identify the industries you may be interested in, whether it be healthcare, biotech, engineer. I mean, I hired a lot of engineers here at Entergy. They were always looking for engineers. If you want a career in HR, or accounting, those are the things that you definitely want to make sure that you kind of identify. Find specific potential employers, identify contacts with target companies. Those are definitely ways to navigate and network. Next slide. So consider these points, who hires employees with your unique skill? So when you're looking for a job and your skills out there, think about that employer that's actually looking for somebody with your skill sets. That's most important when you're actually networking. What companies are in your geographic area of interest? Think about that. Where do you want to relocate? Where do you want to move? Or do you want to move? Those are things that you have to keep in mind. Are there professional associations you can join in your area? That's another good way to network. There may be somebody on that professional association that you can connect with. I mean, who do you already know that may be connected with an employer of interest? That's really important. It's all about networking, and I'm a true believer of that because I'm always networking and seeing where what's out there and what opportunities can present itself to me. So I love to network. Next slide. So, okay, places you can network. So here are some, and I think I mentioned some early on in my slides. You have your LinkedIn groups, social events, professional organizations, job fairs. They're huge. You can network. Recruiting agencies. That's another area. You can do that. Conferences. If you go to conferences, professional conferences, the industry events, and alumni events. Those are all good. And the setting that we're in today is another way to network. You know, you have a lot of good HR panelists here that you can network after today's session. Next slide. So networking tips, be yourself, show your amazing personality. You know, that's most important. That's very important. Be aware of your body language is another important aspect. You know, never dismiss anyone as unimportant because everybody's important. Connect the dots, help others make a connection. You know, so that's important when you're out there networking. Next slide. You know, ask for introductions. That's something important when you're talking to somebody. You know, get to know the other person. Follow up with that person. If you were able to get their email address or their phone number, follow up, but, you know, also be careful that you're not being too pushy, because sometimes people, you know, think that you're being pushy. So make sure you're being very tactful about that. You know, arrive to events early. You know, I know that there are some introverts out there. So again, arrive to events early. You know, again, find a mentor or champion. It's always good to have a mentor. I have a mentor now that I talk to on a daily basis. You know, I'm always trying to, again, advance in my career or just figure out or learn something new. And sometimes that mentor may be giving me some of that knowledge that I need. Build mutual beneficial relationships with other people. That's very important. You know, so keep some of these networking tips in mind when you go out there to network. Next slide. So here I'm actually just showing the value of networking through LinkedIn. You know, the value of networking through LinkedIn is huge. That's something that I think everybody should get involved in, you know, so that you can connect with, you know, professional organizations, different companies. You know, LinkedIn has a whole lot of different information out there so that you can learn to network. And you know, we can go into LinkedIn a lot more if we had the time. But again, if somebody wants to connect with me later on, I can get more into that LinkedIn aspect and how you can network. Next slide. You know, follow companies. If there's a particular company out there that you're interested in working in, make sure on LinkedIn that you're following that company. You know, it could be IBM, it could be Entergy. You know, make sure you follow those companies that you're trying to build, you know, a relationship with. And then maybe when you graduate from Marist College, or even while you're at Marist College, if you're for an internship, those are the ways that you can build that. I mean, we're always posting jobs out there for internships with Entergy. Even though it could be closing down here in the Northeast, we have opportunities for internships in our southern region. So we're always hiring. So make sure you do that as well. So follow those companies. Next slide. Recruitment and LinkedIn. So again, LinkedIn has, you know, over about 560 million members, you know, in about 200 countries. You know, 90% of the recruiters use LinkedIn to vet candidates. So that's another area. Like I said, if they're interested in you, they will actually be out there and they're looking. We're always looking on LinkedIn. You know, a lot of our hiring managers, they'll look for candidates out there on LinkedIn. So that is important. So, you know, make sure that you build that relationship. Next slide. And again, here's another area of examples of networking, and they're going to share this content with you later on so that you can get some more information on what that link actually provides. Thank you. Next slide. Here's one more example, and, you know, I wish I can get more into that, but I wanted to share them in my presentation for some content that you can follow up through later on after today's presentation. Next slide. So, do you hate networking? Because there's some people that really just hate networking. You know, they don't like to talk to people, you know, so, but, you know, and here's how to make it painless. I mean, I provided a link here that will help you, guide you through that, you know, that networking. If you hate networking, if you don't like to talk to people, if you're standoffish, this link here will help you and guide you through, you know, that period, and, you know, to make it more painless. So take a look at this actual link that I've provided here on the screen here today. Next slide.
I bet some students and alumni are even smart enough to take a screenshot of that too. Just look it up on their own Berta later, but we will provide it, like you said. Yes.
So, quote to remember: we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. And, you know, and this is important, you know, so, you know, take that quote with you today and remember that. Next slide. And I don't know if there's any questions. I mean, questions may come up later on in the presentation. I don't want to belabor the time right now, but if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to me, send something through the chat, and I'm here for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Already saw one in Q&A. The chat box is fine too, so please send them in and we'll get to them after all the presentation. Carmen, I'm going to stop sharing now and give the floor to you.
Thank you so much, Amy. And Verna and Sarah really set the tone for a little bit of what I'm going to talk about too. And let me just reiterate a lot of what Verna just said with respect to networking, because it all ties into recruitment. I've been very fortunate that the roles I've had have been as a result of networking. So everything from my internship that I got from networking at Marist through IBM. And at IBM, I had 6 different jobs in 8 years, and I didn't apply to one of them. And you think, how do you get those jobs? You don't apply, and you're talking about recruitment. It's all because by networking, partnering with your mentors, your buddies, they bring those to you and think of you when those job opportunities come up. They encourage you to apply for those things. So it's been a great way to benefit from who you know. And it's not just your name alone. You have to ensure that you are going to sustain exactly what that person wants from you. And Verna said it as elegantly, much better than I would have on the networking piece, but I can't stress enough just how important that is. Now my segment, I had no slides on purpose because I just wanted to have a little talk. And when I have 2 sections here, I'm going to talk about recruitment and retention. And both of them, I'm going to give you recruitment realities and retention realities. No sugarcoating, raw, just here explaining it to you in all of my experiences and how I would share it, just like I would with my students, and we have some students on the call, just like I would my mentees and as well as my mentors, because when I talk with them, I talk up to them because I want to challenge them so that they is a give and take. And one other thing I want to stress about networking, don't just network when you need a job. Network so that you can grow and develop. Give back just as much as you get back. And one of the things that I frown upon, I'm telling you reality, I get a question all the time in HR. You're in HR, you can get me a job. And I politely tell them, no, I can't. And here's why. I don't just give people jobs just because I like you or just because you want a job. You still have to earn it. Now, as Sarah said, it is who you know that can get you in the door. That could line up your interview. That could line up and that could ultimately get you to the top of the list. But that doesn't exactly get you the job. You still have to differentiate yourself. And the question is, well, how do I differentiate myself? And we heard it already a little bit about your resumes. Marist is a great school and we all benefited from that. But there's a lot of people that go to great schools. How do you differentiate yourself? So you got to ask yourself, quantitative and qualitative, how am I going to show on my resume? How am I going to interview and explain that I'm different and I'm better than 100 other people that applied just like I did? And it's not looks, and it's a lot more than that. And trust me, you think that you're going to get to the front just because of something? There are so many other people that are just as good as us. So you got to differentiate. And also I'm going to stress about differentiation on what I call your digital reputation. So right now we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we all post things. Be careful what you put out there. I can't stress that enough because it will come back to bite you if it's something that's negative. And I'm telling you right now, my recruitment reality, it is easier for me to say who I don't want than it is to tell me who I do want. So when I look at people and I start to recruit, and I've looked at thousands of resumes and I've interviewed hundreds of people, I can easily determine who I don't want than it is for who I do want, because that's where it's going to get into that differentiation piece. So be mindful right now. Google yourself, Google all the people. You'll see I trust, and I've done my due diligence. You won't find negative things about me because it's not out there. I joked, Facebook wasn't out there when I was in school. That's sometimes a good thing, but it is for a lot of reality of people today. We have strong digital presence. Make sure you look at what's out there because recruiters, companies, they are looking at it. So I can't stress enough to do that right now. Now let me talk a little bit about what's going on with pandemic. Pandemic, in my opinion, has changed the way we recruit in a good way. And let me explain what I mean by that. Now, all the companies I work for, we used to hear, we have to fly in this person. They have to meet him. How do I know? Right now, none of that is happening. And it's also a good thing. Recruitment costs are down. Real-time interviews are happening. We're getting faster decisions because we're streamlining processes. So recruitment in a way has actually been a good thing, in my opinion, because the pandemic has challenged hiring managers and it's challenged HR to do different things. So it's actually, in my opinion, it made us think and challenge us to do differently. So keep that in mind. And also, I think it's a great time to be in HR, especially in recruitment, because now more than ever, HR is being called upon for very challenging things. And I love when I get asked for, I need your help, because then it also helps justify that HR is needed. HR is a field that I actually backed into because I ultimately one time wanted to be the mayor of my town. And then I quickly learned politics was not for me. But I learned that HR is a great way to leverage those skills to help people. Now, here's another fun recruitment fact. When someone asks you why HR, don't say, I like people. Great. Everybody likes people. I don't want to hear that. What I want to hear is, what are you passionate about with HR? What drove you to HR and how can you make HR different? And the way I like to think about HR right now is I sit in HR, but I'm a business guy who talks finance and thinks like a business person. So I'm not like any other HR person. And that's so far so good. That's helped me. But at the same time, like Verna said, and even Sarah, I try to show confidence, but don't show cockiness and arrogance because that is not what people want either. And it's a balance. So I can't stress enough, like people have said so far. You want to be polished, you want to be prepared, but you don't want to explain to everyone why you are the best. You want to showcase it so that they learn that, you know what, you are pretty good. Don't tell them you're good because that doesn't mean anything to me. I don't want to hear you're good. Great. So is everybody else. I want to pull that away. I want to think about it that way. And again, these are things that you're like, wow, I never thought of it. But I'm telling you, you want to differentiate yourself in the positive way. And the last piece of my part is retention strategies. And I always hear, oh, we got to throw more money at retention. Or so-and-so came to me, they're threatening to leave. And let me tell you, here's my retention reality. If someone's coming to me asking for more money, they already have one foot out the door. And you only get one chance at asking for more money. And I'm not saying you can't, but you can. But the best way I can tell you and arm you as HR professionals is before it gets to that part, it's all about the employee engagement and the experience. Because you don't want people looking to leave. You want to make sure that people are happy, because if they're not happy, you might have already lost them. So what this pandemic has also encouraged us to do is look at what's important to us culturally as a company. So we've asked employees, what is it you need? We've been proactively asking people. So we've been accommodating different people to work from home, even past, because we're essential at Santa Fe. You have to be on site for the majority of our roles. But we've asked some people, you know what? It might not be the best time for you to come for various reasons. So we've been working with them. Our attrition and retention is at an all-time high right now. And we're asking ourselves, why? It's because maybe it's because people are unsafe to leave their company. I get that. I'm actually one of the few people that got a new job during the pandemic, but it was a calculated risk. But one of the things with retention, it's asking people, what is it that you need? What is it that you want? What is it that you are when you get recognition? Here's another thing, recognition. Some people need to get banners and spread and awards, and everybody needs to know about somebody who at a meeting did something great. Some people don't like that. Some people would rather just get a little recognition in their one-on-one meeting with your manager, but they don't want everyone to know they were doing great because that makes them uncomfortable. but you only know that by asking them. So HR professionals and managers, I'm encouraging you, ask your employees what they like. Ask people what they don't like. You're amazed at how a conversation is going to retain people. Because if you're not talking to people, and if you're not investing in your people, and if you're not putting in the time to understand what actually makes people happy, you're going to lose them. So again, these are my, I'll end there, and I know I hope I generated some Q&A. But what I wanted to do today is give you what I call recruitment realities. And I also want to give you retention realities without sugarcoating it, without just telling you what you want to hear. I wanted to share with this audience what you need to hear. And I do the same with my students, and I know we got students on, and I do it with anybody who asks me for my opinion and advice on how could I do what you've done. And I'm like, don't just do what I've done, do what I've done even better. So I'm going to turn it back over to Amy. Thank you so much again for giving me the time.
Thank you, Carmen. Very valuable advice. I'm going to turn it over to Caitlin for leadership and talent development.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kate. And first, I'm so excited to be able to participate on this panel, and especially on a topic on which I'm extremely passionate, which is talent and leadership development. There has really been a transformation over the years of what it means to be in HR, and the types of opportunities have expanded, as you've heard earlier. Depending on company size, industry, or where a company's at in its life cycle, there are HR generalists and business partners that can support every function, to specialists such as pay and benefits experts, recruiting, and even talent and leadership development managers. I personally have actually spent most of my career in HR generalist and BP capacities, and have done a lot of talent and leadership development in the process. With all of the growth in HR, what's clear is a lot of companies are becoming more focused on their teams and, like you just heard, talent retention. And inherently, that's reliant on their managers becoming the best leaders and being able to cultivate, retain, and develop that talent. And hopefully, I can give some insight on that topic by sharing a bit about my career journey and experiences. Being able to drive talent and leadership development for my teams is my favorite part of my job. And gaining that skill set to do so is a lot more achievable than you may think. To give some background, my career and experience in HR and leadership really started at Marist. I was an RA, captain of the softball team. And when I interviewed, that's what a lot of companies were interested in. It was about the experiences and skills that I can attribute right back to my campus life, because those are very transferable skills, which I'll talk about more in a moment. My professional career started at Target's leadership development program. Wasn't the sexiest job right out of college. And in fact, I did struggle with that right out of school with that concept. Long hours, nights, weekends, very much a hands-on physical job. And then I was hearing about like summer Fridays, office ping pong tables, some of my friends were experiencing. And I questioned myself in my job more than a few times. But what I did have was the unique experience of leading a team right out of school. I was learning a lot about business and more importantly, leadership. I was coaching and providing feedback regularly, and I was learning what my team members found valuable. I was also failing very regularly, whether it was because I fumbled through a difficult conversation, made a wrong decision, or let myself react poorly in an intense situation. But I was gaining experiences, and I was getting comfortable being uncomfortable. I progressed in my career, seized opportunities, created my own, and took on some things outside of my comfort zone. As looking back, the opportunity to have that frontline general experience at Target opened up several doors for me as I began my career and gave me the ability to pursue opportunities inside and outside of HR. And I took on those roles actually outside of HR, which helped me grow more within my HR career and specifically within leadership and talent development because of the variety of experiences I was collecting. I was learning about business, about leading a different type of team, about managing stakeholders, all skills I apply to my job today. And now I'm a senior HR program manager at Amazon, and to this day, I'm able to draw upon and share those experiences with leaders at all levels, from brand new campus hire leaders to individuals getting promoted into their first leadership role, or even to higher level leaders moving from individual contributor to people leader roles. But the most valuable way to develop that skill set was learning through transferable skills. Relationship building I learned as an RA on campus. Collaboration I learned as a member of large group projects. Dealing with internal conflicts did as a softball captain. even having awkward or difficult conversations, group projects, softball, RA, all of it. I also was watching and learning side by side with my team members at Target, watching someone influence much more successfully than I did because she picked up better customer service skills than I ever had because she worked as a cashier, then a guest service team member, until she was promoted to a manager. I learned how valuable trust was with my team as I worked side by side zoning an aisle or mopping up whatever liquid was on the floor. And the best part was I didn't need a specific title or even the job that I had out of college to obtain that experience. I love what Sarah shared earlier about retail leadership roles. You can gain leadership experience anywhere you work. Don't take for granted any opportunity that presents itself to you during or after college. There's always a way to seize the opportunity and work on a skill set that will help you as a leader in your career journey and even in interviewing. Customer service, like we just said, is a big one. Anyone working with the general public learns incredibly valuable leadership skills. And guess what? Especially in HR, you always have a customer and can apply those skills. Administrative role, you need those skills too, especially in HR. I write more papers, emails, and manage a calendar more now than I ever have at any other time in my life. Deadlines, time management, those are all leadership skills that are transferable and will be valuable throughout your career. Some of the most valuable HR partners actually came from some other roles, especially those in which they support or other leadership roles, because that's becoming a big focus in the field, coaching and developing your talent and teaching other leaders to do so as well. And the best way to learn that is by doing. Get comfortable being uncomfortable, gaining those experiences so you can coach and teach other leaders. You can't teach someone how to have a difficult conversation unless you've done it yourself. And trust me, you'll probably screw that up the first, second, and maybe even 10th difficult conversation you have. And you can't teach someone to learn from their mistakes unless you've made mistakes yourself. And the only way to do that is to put yourself out there, gain experiences, regardless of the role, and make the most out of whatever opportunities present themselves in the form of those transferable skills. So I hope some of this was helpful, and thanks again for having me.
Thank you, Kate. I'm going to turn it over to Devon now for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Thanks, Amy. So I recognize that we're getting short on time, so I want to respect everyone's time. So I'll be brief, but hopefully informative. So before I begin, I just want to take a moment to pause and reflect on 2020. Diversity, equity, inclusion, or DEI, has become an important topic for workplaces around the world as our country battled with social unrest. Even at the start of the new year, we saw how systemic imbalances in our country affected those around us. As a new administration takes office, no matter your affiliation, I hope it comes with a change that celebrates the work all D&I professionals are so proud of. Celebrating our differences both in and out of the workplace is essential to ensure we all are able to come to work as our authentic selves. As we look forward to the rest of 2021, we know how important DEI is for all of us. However, sometimes we don't really know what DEI means. What I've often shared with my fellow colleagues is diversity is being invited to the dance and inclusion is being asked to dance. Much of my work encourages an environment of belonging while educating my colleagues about their unconscious biases, celebrating what makes us who we are, and fostering a difficult conversation. Most recently, I have been able to support the creation of BRGs, or business resource groups, assist employees with their transitions, and develop training paths that, through enterprise solutions like LinkedIn Learning. I'm honored to work directly with our CHRO, our Chief Human Resource Officer, on our aggressive 3-year strategy for diversity, equity, and inclusion. In fact, our company has made its first public commitment to embracing DEI as it highlights high-level commitments to move into a space where we create this inclusive culture. And I'll leave with a golden nugget. If you are interested in a path in DEI, I'm actually hiring a HR intern at my company. So I encourage you to visit avangrid.com, avangrid.com, and apply for the HR intern. I suggest doing that sooner rather than later because I'm starting interviews next week. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, but definitely apply at avangrid.com. Thanks.
I think career services like that little nugget you added in there. Right, Desmond? Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. We'll try to get to some questions now, so we don't go over our time. There were one or two submitted with registration. So I'm going to grab those to start things off, and then those that are online right now, if they can think of something, feel free to send it in the Q&A or chat box to me as the host. So one of the ones that was sent in early is kind of a three-part question. How do I use an extensive list of accolades and achievements in the pursuit of a position? Do I include them in the application, or would they be better suited in an interview? So I'm not sure if one of you would like to take that first. You're all thinking intently. I can
start, and then my fellow panelists can jump in. So what I think is important is you can showcase those items in bold. And what I would say is it's really important that you don't eliminate anything that will give you an edge or a competitive step in front of other people, but maybe summarize a little bit. And if it's a pretty long list, see how you can condense, but don't cut anything out, because you want your prospective employer to really understand your full capability, competency, and skill set.
Yeah, and Amy, I'll expand a little bit. So what I've also learned is, especially for our students, some of your classes and your accomplishments are going to be more relevant for you. Now, if I still have on my resume that I was a National Residence Hall on, nobody cares about that as much now that I'm so far removed. But again, it's all about when and how. So I think it's definitely, like Sarah said, especially students, put all that stuff. As you get further on in your career, you're going to have new accolades, so keep refreshing them. And the further away, though, from some, unless it's like something really big, like if you got Nobel Peace Prize, you put that on your resume every time. But just keep in mind, there's going to be some that carry more weight, like we heard SHRM, or some experiences, like Kate said about her being captain of the team. Captain of the team is something that always gets talked about. But you don't need to put every little thing at the bottom all the time. And again, that's just being just blunt, no filter.
We had a question come in during the presentation, a little more specific. This person requested an LOA, which is letter of authority, correct, at her job. So this is related to the current pandemic. So she requested it due to COVID-19, feeling it wasn't safe to meet with the public. So her director is asking for more detailed information. Is that legal? Can they ask for more information other than what the doctor has already provided on her behalf?
So I'll jump in again. You guys can start. Devon, did you want to take that one? Click off.
Sarah, please.
Oh, okay. So we'll tag team this one. So I think the LOA stands for leave of absence, if I'm not mistaken. But the person asking the question can certainly clarify. If an employee is requesting leave of absence due to any medical condition, they are typically required to either submit medical documentation to their human resources department or to a third-party leave of absence provider. And those individuals, whether it's the leave provider or the HR representative, will be able to clarify what information is appropriate to be contained in those documents. If your direct supervisor or leader is requesting additional information, I would suggest taking partnership with your HR department or leave provider immediately. So that's my counsel on that topic. Did you want to add something else, Devon?
Sure, no, I agree. And I think too, just to highlight the FMLA process as well, which is another avenue that you can take. But like Sarah said, I would definitely partner with HR to learn more about your FMLA process or your third-party administrator or TPA.
Okay, question about networking. We know we shouldn't explicitly ask for a job when we're networking. With that being said, what are ways we can find out about the hidden job market through networking?
I mean, so with the hidden job market, I mean, I would say that put yourself out there on LinkedIn. That's one way, and start connecting that way with people. I mean, because there's opportunities out there where people are looking for something, maybe somebody with your background, your skill set. So, I mean, that's one of the avenues. I mean, LinkedIn is huge. I would definitely get myself out there, build your groups, put your, your background information in there so that people can see what you have to offer.
Yeah, if I could even add on to that too, because I do get people seeking like jobs at Amazon in my inbox. I also recommend having an idea in mind of the type of role that you're interested in, and being able to express what qualifies you for something like that as well when you're reaching out and networking. So then that way, transparently, when people reach out and say, oh, looking for a job at Amazon, I think I'd be a great fit. You're putting work on me to look at why I think you'd be a good fit versus you telling me and making that a lot easier. So also make it easy for the person that you're networking with as well, I'd recommend.
And I agree with my fellow panelists. The other thing I would chime in and say, why not? If you're networking with somebody, it's okay to share with them that you're currently job seeking. No shame in your game. So definitely share in a very professional method that you are interested in everything you have to say, and there's nothing wrong with saying, listen, if an opportunity comes up, here's what I'm interested in. Let me send you my resume, or please stay in contact and make sure you connect with them on LinkedIn or other avenues.
Yeah, and let me just clarify, because I made a comment about this, is what I frown upon is when I don't even know anyone and I never hear from a person and they only call me because they want a job. That's the part that bothers me. But if I know them and we're talking regularly, and then to Sarah's point and Kate's point, they were talked about, you know what, I am looking for a job now, is there guidance and thing. Completely different story on how much I'll help them. But I don't want to only hear from you when you need something, just like family members only call when they need something. It's the same thing in HR.
And just to add to,
yeah, go ahead, Devon.
I'm sorry, Amy. I was just going to say the Open to Work platform on LinkedIn is also very powerful and has shown a lot of good feedback. So I would encourage you, if you're open to work, use that little logo in your LinkedIn profile because it can generate a lot of good resources for you as well.
I was going to say is to echo, Carmen, what you said. We have an alum who's a trustee of the college, phenomenal career. The story, he told it on the Alumni podcast, FYI, if you'd like to listen, that while he was a student, he met an alum who worked at one of the television stations and just kept the relationship open for years. I mean, we're talking 10, 15 years. He just checked in every 6 months to say hi. He never asked for a job. The alum, had told him, I don't have anything right now, even if you were looking. But one day, that alum called and said, I think you'd be perfect for this. And exactly. He is, doing wonderfully right now. So I always remember that story. It's just, you're becoming a friend with an alum and you just stay in touch, whether it's LinkedIn, it's definitely email nowadays. Back then it was phone. Definitely do that. And I'm going to share, we have 2 very large LinkedIn groups. We have a lot of subsets under that as well, but very large alumni LinkedIn groups. And I don't want to take the time now to fill around and paste the link for you. So when I send tomorrow the follow-up email with the presentation, I'll include the links to those 2 groups. So if any students or alums listening right now aren't already members, you should definitely join. That's just the easiest thing you can do. We also have our Alumni Career Network. I'm going to put up a slide actually from Career Services in a minute, but I think both you should definitely be part of. There's one question here that we might be able to squeeze in quickly. I know it's 5 o'clock now, but what roles exist as part of HR that we may not be thinking of? So this be coming from probably a student or a young alum.
I'll chime in a couple here. So there's always, first I'll exhaust recruitment and all that, like we talked about, generalists, payroll, all that. But some of the things that people don't think are HR are like org design, and also the one that I love now because I'm a data guy is workforce analytics. So if you're good at numbers and finance and strategic workforce planning, which I was able to make a good career at IQVIA about, it ties strategy on how to fix problems with. So it's like recruitment, but it's not, because you're planning workforce and you're strategizing, and you're analyzing data, that's not something, HR doesn't like data a lot of time. A lot of people get scared with spreadsheets, but that's something that not everyone has. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a growing industry for workforce analytics and planning. So that might be a thing of HR that you might not have thought of.
Okay. I also wanted to point out, because we do have some faculty and staff who have joined us today, in addition to what I mentioned of the Career Network and LinkedIn, current students and even alums that just left within the past couple of years should definitely rely on former faculty and staff to help bridge. They know a lot of people as well, and they also have great advice. And you may have had a great relationship with a faculty or staff member. You should keep that open. You should definitely have them as a mentor and continue to connect with them. That could be extremely helpful to you as well. Do you all have a minute or two more? I have some more questions here. Yeah, you're good. Okay. Woo, they're coming in now. Let's see. For someone who, so we have an alum who's more seasoned on the webinar today. So this isn't a student or a recent grad. Going back after many years being home raising children and has had various different jobs when they were in the workforce. What's the best thing they can do to get back in? You know, what would a recruiter be looking for someone in that situation?
So I will start it off. I think what's important, and all the respect to those who are out there, you know, working on the family and taking time away for family planning, absolutely amazing. So congratulations for bringing folks into this world, and now moving on to other opportunities in the workforce. So I think what's important is consider what it is that you're looking to accomplish. Where are you interested in focusing your efforts and energies as a parent, and also having a professional career prior to that? Think about collectively your experience and showcase those talents. The other thing too, what I would recommend is when you think about where your focus needs to be, are there other classes or courses or e-learnings, LinkedIn Learning, or other things that you can do to really sharpen your skills? Because the workforce in terms of skill has changed dramatically over the years. Technology has changed over the years as well. So consider brushing up those skills as you are entering back into the job market, and congratulations and good luck to you.
If I can add two things. One, as a new parent, I think it's also very important to be honest with yourself about what you're looking for, kind of like what Sarah was saying, and be willing to turn down a job because maybe they don't have the same hours you're looking for, or maybe they don't allow flexible schedules. Right. So be very honest with your own recruiting as you're looking to be hired for roles. And then when it comes time for your resume, I think a functional style resume, as what we're probably used to is more chronological, is also important, where it can highlight some of those key areas of expertise, or what Sarah said, are different courses or classes you've taken in between your time of parenting. I think it's also something important to do as well. Here in the DE&I space, we foster and build that community of inclusiveness. And I think it's important for everyone, no matter your parent or whomever, to look for companies who support that.
Yeah, and Amy, if I could add, there's also, even if you're a stay-at-home, I'm sure, like Kate was saying, there's so many things that are experiences. So even if you're not working, you're still managing a household and managing other groups or participating in things. That all counts. And then the other thing is, I'll say, and this is where I'm just giving to you straight, right now is probably your best time to apply for jobs, because so many people are working from home and having to do work and juggle. There's now more than ever an appreciation for being at home. So if anything, you can use that to your advantage. You're like, I've been working from home all this time. Now people are seeing it and appreciating it more, and it might benefit you.
I just posted a link from someone listening in to share with everyone who said has a lot of free courses online. So thank you, Emily. That was very helpful. Now I lost my Q&A. Let's see. I had a question here I want to ask quickly about recruiting. So this listener said, I keep hearing from various professionals in the industry that recruiting is a sales job and it strays away from general HR. I was wondering if anyone could explain why recruiting is similar to sales and what the positives and negatives of beginning an HR career in recruiting are.
I'll let someone else go first. I can go all day with this.
I'm going to chime in a little bit on that one. So I'm going to go with the positive of recruiting, because I did recruiting for a long time. And the positive is, you know, you get out, if you have great interpersonal skills, and again, that's when that networking piece comes into play. I mean, that's the positive. I mean, you can meet so many different people with so many different backgrounds, which is huge. And I know from my company, when I was out there and we were out there recruiting and looking for engineers and, you know, and networking with them and understanding their background and their education and what they had to offer for our company. I mean, it was big. And we really enjoyed it. So on a positive note, I think recruiting is a great job. I go back any day because I love people. So for me, I have that great interpersonal skills. So for me, that was the positive note on the aspect of recruiting.
Absolutely, Verna. And you know, I chuckled a little bit when we talked about sales. And sales can be realistically incorporated into any occupation, not just recruiting or human resources. And I actually don't think that that's a bad thing. I think being a salesperson is quite honestly what many professionals do, whether you're working in, for example, a college admissions department, or you're a recruiter, or you're, you know, truly a salesperson. At the end of the day, having a sales skill and technique can really be anchored or leveraged in any type of profession, and having a skill set to sell is another way of saying influence. And as any great HR business partner will tell you, or any business leader, being influential is super key to the success of driving forward change initiatives, goals within your business, or hiring. So I would say, yes, recruiting and sales can have a lot in common, but sales also really can have connections to other areas of any business.
Yeah. And the only thing I'll add too is what you do with recruitment is you're representing the company, and in order to represent the company, you got to learn the company. You got to understand what the hiring manager needs. So you're partnering with that person, but then you're also not just screening resumes and interviewing. You have to attract top candidates too. So that's where the selling comes in, is because you want other people to buy into what you're buying into, which is serving as a member, learning, growing, and you want to attract good people. You're not attracting bad people. So if you're not a good salesperson, you're not going to attract the right people. And I used to argue with my recruiters, if you can recruit, a good recruiter can recruit for anything. So that's again where you can really own, and it's a great first step into HR. So that's how I got into HR, because it's one of those where not everyone wants to, and I don't understand why, but it's a great first step in. And if you partner with the right people, that will open your doors when you get to be the generalist. Or if you partner with your comp people because you're challenging some of the offers, the comp team's going to pull you in. So again, I think it just opens floodgates.
And may I add one more thing, because as you were talking, Carmen, you made me think of something. Going back to recruiting, the recruiting skills that you use in that particular job, you can really leverage them if you were going to, let's say, for example, work in a generalist or an ER, employee relations capacity. There's very similar or transferable skills when you are recruiting, asking probing questions, really digging into details, exploring a discussion with another individual. those are, again, key skills or competencies that you would be able to leverage in other areas of human resources as well. So recruiting is a really great starting point. I'm sure all of us on this call have had some sort of recruiting experience, because working in the HR profession over years, everybody has had their hand in recruiting at some point or time. So it's a great area or discipline in human resources.
Thank you. We still have 3/4 of the group still on, so I'm going to squeeze one more in because I think it's a great question. It applies to both the students and alumni out there. For this person, it's important to me that a company's culture aligns with my values. It's very easy to look at a company's website to see what they describe as a company culture, but what steps can I take to get a better idea if a company is a good fit for me?
Try to get an internship opportunity, what I'd say.
So if they're a student, yes, or someone who can forego a full-time job and do the internship.
That's true.
Yeah, I would say I always encourage people when you're interviewing, you're also interviewing the company too. So always keeping that in mind and not letting that be a one-sided. I know sometimes when you're on a job hunt, you're nervous and you want to put your best foot forward and make sure that you're projecting why you're a good fit for that company. Like, also make sure that you're using that opportunity to interview the company that you're interviewing for. Ask questions about what a typical day-to-day looks like. Ask what success looks like. That could be a really key on where that company values. If they say success is, oh, the last person who was really successful, they were always in early, they stayed late, and that doesn't align with your values, that's a good indicator. Asking what that manager sees as success, what some of their best employees do, and along those lines.
Yeah, and I was just going to add on to what Kate was saying. I agree 100%. I think a couple of things. So first of all, if you are involved in an interview process, if you're at that point, to really kind of suss out or understand or dig into company culture and values, it is important for you to ask questions and look for certain cues to understand really kind of what's happening there. But also, if you're on site, look around, right? What do you actually see as occurring in the workplace? Were you greeted when you came in the door? How was your recruiting process? So think about that and use visual cues and things that you're seeing in your interview process. Another thing I think is really important is what's out there online. Oftentimes, when people are exploring for jobs, it is okay to look at the company's site or other sites that might have commentary or feedback or reviews, quite honestly, about the employer. Now, again, we need to be cautious because not everything we read is true story. Some is emotion, right? But I would say that those are some key ways in which you can really dig in to understand culture. Thank you.
And I think too, Carmen said it in his topic about recruitment and retention. As far as social media, I think social media for a company too is equally important, as you're going through your researching process, because like I mentioned in my brief summary, we're making public commitments. If you have a commitment to diversity within your company, but you don't see any public commitments, whether it be a social media post or public PR about diversity, and that's important to you, then maybe that company is not a good fit. And then two, I would also encourage you to use LinkedIn. If you have a company, you see someone's moved on from that company, you might want to reach out to them and, assuming they're in your network, and say, hey, I noticed you work for ABC company. Is there a reason why you left? And try to have that candid conversation about why they may have separated from that company. It could be for good reasons. It could be for poor reasons. Who knows? But I think everything you heard here today as far as networking, reviewing social media and establishing your network is going to be critical on establishing what a company's culture might look like and how that works for you.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Well, I think we got to most everyone's questions. I want to thank all of you for your time today. We really appreciate it. I also want to thank Desmond and Career Services for joining on this as well. Thank you, Desmond.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been great. It's been informative. I'll just say this discussion tonight definitely exceeded my expectations. I think it was really good. It was excellent. And just to see, we still have attendees that are still here listening. So this has been an excellent discussion tonight, and great advice has been given from our Marist alumni.
So a full recording of the presentation will be available within the next few days on our website and the Marist Alumni YouTube channel. So please continue to check our site and the YouTube channel. If I have it ready by tomorrow, the recording, I'll include a link to that when I send out the presentation and all these links we need to send out. I did paste, Verna, all of yours in the chat box already, but I'll still send them out tomorrow. And then also for the participants today, I did want to take a minute to mention and promote the Marist Society of Human Resources Management, or SHRM. I know one of you referred to it as SHRM before. We're having test prep course and the SHRM Essentials course at Marist. The registration for spring courses is now open, and we're hosting virtual information sessions on January 12th, which happened this past week, and the 20th. So there's another one on the 20th. So I'm going to paste this link in the chat box for anyone who's still on who might be interested in those. All attendees, the Marist SHRM courses. Okay, there's a link, and I'll include that in tomorrow's email as well. So I just want to get that in there. But Carmen, Kate, Sarah, Devon, and Verna, thank you. You were awesome. We really appreciate it. And thank you for staying late as well. We really appreciate that as well. So thanks, everyone, and have a wonderful evening.
Welcome. Take care.
All righty.
Thank you.